Hi, I'm Rob with We Keep You Cycling, and today SMP's Carbon Lite, Forma, Dynamic, and Lite 209 saddles. All of them feature SMP's 4 key characteristics. The end-to-end channel for great soft tissue relief and increased blood flow. The beaked nose to reduce pressure up front when you scooch forward. A slight dip in the center of the saddle to follow the curvature of your body, and phenomenal sit bone support at the rear. Starting off with the Carbon Lite, you have, as the name would suggest, an all-carbon shelled saddle. It is the lightest of the 4 and provides the most anatomically correct carbon saddle you may ever ride. The Carbon Lite picks up a little bit more width and length at 135 millimeters wide compared to the first Carbon at 129. This gives folks a little bit more width at the rear to provide more sit bone support, and as the length would suggest, provides more room to move fore and aft. One caution though, it is a very firm saddle and the carbon shell has almost no give to it. The Forma is otherwise very similar to the Carbon Lite. Picks up a few millimeters in width at 137 millimeters wide, and it's not constructed out of a carbon shell. Instead, it's got a nylon carbon shell for additional give, but keep in mind it's still an unpadded saddle. Like all the saddles, it has SMP's hollow steel rails with up to 8 centimeters of clampable area to allow you to position it anywhere. The saddle is also finished in a leather covering which has a little bit more stick than the clear-coated carbon finish. If an unpadded saddle isn't for you, there's the Dynamic. It picks up a little bit of their high-density foam, and while visually appears to have the same levels of padding you may have seen in other saddles, keep in mind that SMP always uses a high-density foam, and so it's on the firmer side of padded. What it does allow is a little bit more forgiveness for folks who do like firm saddles, and addresses the occasional issue on the Forma with a little bit more padding on the nose so you don't feel the edges. The Lite 209 features the most padding in the group. While it visually appears to possibly have too much, keep in mind SMP always uses this high-density foam, so there's no squish to the saddle. It picks up a little bit more width because of the padding. At 139 millimeters wide, it's close to what the average road rider will need based on sit bone width and riding position. The additional amount of padding gives you additional forgiveness in the sit bones for either folks who have tender sit bones or who are doing long distance riding and need the additional padding. The padding on the rear translates equally to the front to give you a little bit more forgiveness while hanging off the nose. The Dynamic can be quite firm, and the Lite 209 is noticeably more forgiving without being squishy. The additional padding, of course, picks up some extra weight, and there's really no way around this when you're using high-density foam. While these are all anatomically correct, they tend to run heavy for their respective categories, and you'll find on average anywhere from 20 to 50 grams heavier an SMP saddle than the competitor's product. I'm Rob with We Keep You Cycling, and this is the SMP Carbon Lite, Forma, Dynamic, and Lite 209. If you have any questions about these saddles, or any of the saddles we carry, drop us a line or email us, info@wekeepyoucycling.com.